Hey, everybody out there. I'm Maria Davis from Maria Davis Music. And joining me today is.
John Nixon of 7 and 5.
So today we are going to kind of discuss how the album Synergy was created, the
Mhm.
crazy idea behind it, and everything that went into it.
Yeah, it has a little history too, that we did a couple of collaborations before that, which I think was probably the original genesis of the idea, sending ideas back and forth. And then you had this kind of what if idea.
Yeah, it was actually, I might as well explain it.
Yeah.
This crazy idea. On my first album, my Paradox album, the title track to that, I had taken some elements from that and I wanted to see if I can create something with a completely different vibe, total different sound, new song. And when I did that, the idea came to me of what if somebody else took this and did the same thing? How would that sound? And I kind of ran it by John. I was like, hey, you want to try this, work with this foundation and see if maybe we can get two totally different songs out of this. And that was actually the song Cone,
Right.
which is a derivative kind of in a roundabout way. When I was looking up for synonyms of the word paradox, that's where that came from. My
And it's
phone went off.
different than, it should be pointed out, it's different than doing a remix. This was taking very bare bones ideas, like 4 bars of an arpeggiation or a scrap of a melody. And then we wouldn't just send that audio off and let someone else take it and remix, put different rhythms under it. It was, here's the basic arpeggiation, here's the basic melody, and also here's the MIDI that goes with it, so that I can then take what maybe you did on synth, I can assign it to maybe more of a piano sound, and I can change the notes, I can remove, I can add. So it's not simply a case of taking the elements from one song, giving it to a remixer, and having them remix it.
It's pretty involved what we did. It was not that simple because I mean what we were calling them foundations, and the
Yeah,
first foundation I got from John was the Waking Universe.
right.
And when I heard that, those little elements that he sent over, I was like, I knew exactly what I was going to do. The second one he sent over, the first of three, I was like, oh man, okay, what do I do? I had to sit on it for a little bit, but I eventually got it. But he kind of had something similar with what I sent you.
Yeah, one of them came to me immediately, and the other one I kind of had to sit with for a little while. So I guess that's just the nature of it. You don't, it sometimes it reveals itself immediately. To me, putting together a track is often like a puzzle. Some people think of creating as just pulling stuff out of thin air and suddenly poof, it's creative. To me, I know the elements that go together to make a good song. And so to me, that's sort of a puzzle, is figuring out, okay, if I've got this and I know this much, then what are the other things that need to happen? How do I take other parts, other elements, other ideas and put them together with this? It's not purely, oh, I'll do whatever I feel. Is a certain amount of having to figure out how to make it work, which is sort of like the puzzle.
Yeah, and that was definitely the challenge when you get just minimal
Yeah.
parts, that elements that need to be in there. See, some of the rules we kind of made
Yeah.
for this was I create a foundation, I finish that foundation,
Right.
John finishes that foundation as well. But after we're like 95% done, pass it off to the other, let them listen. Hey, is there anything you want to add? A little thing,
Right.
here and there. Just to of course stick with the idea of a collaboration. And also, sometimes all it takes is one little thing. It's like, oh my
Right.
gosh, I didn't know that the song needed that until you heard it, And I think that was on which one was that you did that on? One in particular, you did that for me. You're like, oh, I know what it needs. What song was that? Oh no.
Yeah. I'm trying to
Oh, that was
remember now
Walking the
because,
Twilight.
yeah.
Yeah, which is my
It,
foundation. See, okay, your foundations are what, John?
the first of three, and the Waking Universe
Okay, and mine is the Walking the Twilight
and
and
Cone.
Cone.
Right.
So Walking the Twilight, my own foundation, I'm thinking, okay, it's done. It's done. I pass it off to John and he's like, no, it needs this.
Well, I didn't quite say it that way.
Well, no, okay. But he's like, no, I know what it needs. And he was
Yeah, yeah,
right. He
yeah.
was right. And so that's awesome. I added a little bit to his stuff as well. So it was the most fun project ever for me. It was so fun doing this. And what was really, really interesting was hearing how, yes, the two versions complement one another, but they are in two totally different directions. And that just kind of happened. We didn't take the same direction.
No, we didn't decide ahead of time. You do a fast one, I'll do a slow one. It just, and we didn't change them. We didn't want to change them so much that you couldn't recognize the two either.
Yeah.
So you could tell that which two go together even without the titles, you'd be able to tell that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But what I thought was absolutely fascinating is not really knowing much in advance, but like, okay, you're going to do something more down tempo, whereas I take that foundation and it's more, fast paced, more up tempo. And it's like, wow, how it just seemed to happen on every single song that we went opposite directions, though, without even really, really telling each other. I mean, you can say to the other, well, okay, I'm going to make this 100 beats per minute. And you would say, okay, well, I'm going to keep it at 80 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that 80 beats per minute is going to be slower paced.
Feeling, right.
Yeah, than 100 beats per minute.
Yeah, the only sort of one that was semi-obvious was the one you sent me that was 123 BPM, and at least I gleaned a little bit from that you were going to take more of a house tempo on that. And so I basically did a halftime of it. So that was the only one where I felt I had a clue that you were going to be fast. But other than that, it was guesswork. Even then, that wasn't a guarantee.
One of the foundations that John made, the first of three, of course, I got the MIDI stems from that, and it wasn't talking to me. It's just kind of like how Cone wasn't talking to him right away.
Right.
And I jumped into the MIDI and started. That's the beauty with MIDI is you can change where the notes go.
Right.
And changed things up a little bit, but left them pretty much the melody intact, the little melody. And that right there, it's the longest song on the album, but it's just one of those ones for me. It's like, I can't stop.
I don't want it to stop.
You want to just keep going and going and going, but you can't,
Right.
But that one in particular, the first of three, and that, I don't know, John, you want to tell everybody what the first of three means?
Well, I mean, it's not a secret that I'm a religious guy, and I started that. I had kind of been putting off starting another foundation because I didn't really know where to go, and I happened to start it in the morning of Good Friday. So I had Easter weekend on the mind and the 3 days. And so that was, generally when I title a song, it either has to do with what I'm looking at, sort of what I'm envisioning for inspiration, or it is a reminder of putting me in the place where I originally wrote the song. So I have a song called Medea, which in and of itself, people don't know what that means, but I remember that I wrote it while down in Jamaica on vacation. I had taken a laptop with me, and Medea is one of those sayings, sort of like, how you doing? I don't even know what the direct translation is, but I picked it up from the people working at the Sandals Resort. They kept saying Medea, like, it's cool, and it's cool. And so I just wrote that song and titled it that because it reminds me of where it was that I wrote it. It's not particularly a Jamaican sounding song, but that's again why I named this one.
It's definitely a conversation starter. The title. Some songs are fun conversation starters.
Yeah, it does lead you to like, what does that mean? And so that's good.
Yeah. For anybody who's wondering, the album artwork is a petroglyph that I took a picture of in Monument Valley. And it is in a very secluded area. I had to go there on horseback by a Navajo guide. And I took that, I think it was maybe 5 years ago. And I've always loved that picture. And when I was looking for ideas for album art, it just was one of the ones of the mix that I sent over to John, because when you got a collaboration, everything is a collaboration. And John picked that out. He liked that one the best.
it was different than all the rest. Most of the others were some sort of nature landscape thing. Some were night, some were desert, some were day. But then there was this one, and it stood out, and even the colors were obviously completely different because it's got these purples and things in it. And so it caught my eye right away. And I mean, I don't want our stuff to look like everyone else's stuff. So I guess when one stood out as being different than the rest, I gravitated to that.
Oh, it's a good album cover. It's
Yeah.
good. You get a good eye for that. That was a good one. The title of it, though, is not the original title. Synergy. I didn't even know what that word meant. I'll be honest. I had no clue what that word meant until I looked it up. Because we had a different title for this album, and it wasn't working with the way that was written on the artwork and everything. I don't know, it just wasn't working. And for me, I'm going through all these synonyms of different words going, okay, well, does this describe it? That's too generic, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped and I went, TV shows tend to come up with a lot of really good titles to their episodes. And I happen to know, like, I know this is this is sad, but I mean, I know like nearly every single episode title to the X-Files.
Okay.
So I'm running through my head going, okay, there's this, and I came across Synergy, and I'm like, well, that sounds cool. I wonder what it means. And I looked it up, and it described exactly what was going on with the collaboration. I'm like, oh my God, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I sent it over to John. Hey, nailed it.
Well, yeah, I knew that it made sense with what we were doing too. And, different things coming together that, combined create greater strength than the two independently, I guess, is sort of a rough explanation of what I think it means, right?
Pretty much. It's a collaboration two people coming together or more to make something that's ordinary into something fantastic, basically.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the music video was originally, your idea was you were going to go do some drone footage. So you do all the drone footage shooting out there. And I thought, well, what about if we added in a little bit of performance stuff to it? Just keys, hands on the keys, maybe playing a little of the melody, things like this. And you kind of like that idea of like elevating it from just a footage video to something more of a typical music video, whatever, a full production, I think is what you put it. And it's kind of funny. You ran into weather problems, so you couldn't fly. So you had to find other footage, and you could tell that part of the story. And then here in the studio here, I recorded a few bits of me playing the melody on one of my synthesizers. I guess the guitar part. Got the guitar part in there. But so there's a little bit of sprinkles of performance footage in there as well. But what about the original, the background footage, the nature footage?
The nature footage, that's all my footage.
Yeah.
And that's just shot all over Arizona. I don't think there's anything oh no, wait, there's Glamis. Glamis is in there. The sand dunes, that's right on the border of Arizona and California. But it's on the California side.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah. But no, that's just footage that I shot all over Arizona, through the years. And because it was so windy, it's been so windy, you don't want to fly in really bad windy conditions, because you can really mess up the gimbal on a drone. And I fly a Mavic Air 2S, so I mean, it's sensitive. You don't want to destroy a $2,000 drone.
No.
So, I just looked through my library and found what would work, and what would complement the tonality of the music in combination with the shots that John took. And I think it came out pretty good. I mean, for what it is.
Yeah, and a lot of desert footage in there, and that made sense. It goes with the petroglyph cover art, so I think it all works.
Yeah. So there's another music video that will be coming out, and there's gonna be like 2 official music videos. And the second one is all the redwoods in Northern California. And for me, the redwoods, it's kind of like I say my third home away from home. My second home away from home is Monument Valley. But the redwoods is it's a very spiritual place. If you've ever had a chance to go there, you know what I'm talking about. But just walking through slow paced to the music and everything, it's just it's
Yeah.
the video does not give it credit
I'll
for
tell you though, you're not
what it
having
is.
been there, the way that it's shot and the, for lack of a better term, using a musical term, the presence of it gives you really, you get a feeling of the awesomeness of being there. You really do. You know, maybe the widescreen, the intensity of the colors and the sun coming through in places, it's pretty amazing.
Actually, that was the second time I was there at the Redwoods. The first time I was there midday, and you didn't have the sun coming through. That was during
Yeah.
the sunrise, and after experiencing it during the sunrise, it's
Yeah.
you don't want to go any other time. And it's funny because when I first started filming that, and this was back in 2020 that I filmed that, I'm walking towards the sun, but trying not to get the sun right in the lens. And I was like, oh, this isn't working. And I turned around, and then suddenly the whole forest was lit up with this golden light on the trunks of the trees. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
okay, there's my shots, you know? But it goes very, very well with the music. And that one is on the song The Waking Universe, which is John's foundation.
Yeah.
And works beautifully. And the other music video is on my foundation, The Walking Twilight.
Right.
So that way, you know, basically there's two official music videos that are, one's John's impression, one is my impression. So I think it works out pretty well.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's kind of some behind the music information about the album Synergy. And it was, as always, wonderful working with John on
Yeah.
anything. It's always fun working with John.
It was a blast. Absolutely. New challenge, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. So you guys, I hope you really, really enjoy the music. Please follow on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Pandora, wherever you listen to music. And you stay awesome
YouTube,
out
of
there.
course. Don't forget YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Absolutely, YouTube. John's got a new channel now.
Yep.
Got a new YouTube channel, and all the music is on there.
Thanks to you.
You take care, and maybe you'll see us again sometime.